Hello students, I hope you had a nice weekend. So this video is for Monday, April 13th. And one of the things we're going to do in this video is look at this website that I started out and figure out some ways that we can customize it. Now, of course, you guys can get any website theme you want. I've recommended a couple in the last tutorial that were very good. And this is one of the ones from one of the companies I liked a lot. Now, the two theme systems that I told you about in the last video were Ocean WP and Astra. And of course, there's a bunch more out there, but these are two that I introduced you to. And I'm going to focus on using one of the Astra templates in the next few videos. Now, I did look a little further into Ocean WP. And if you recall in the last video, I was looking at the themes and they all seem to be, or at least the initial ones all seem to be the pro themes. You know, you go here, but I noticed that when you get down into the meat of their themes, somewhere in the middle here, let's see, maybe it was like 5 or 6. Now I'm not going to be able to find it, but oh, here we go. Page 6 is where you find some of the free themes, right? As opposed to the paid for themes. So, you know, they're in there. You just have to hunt around for them a little bit. Okay, but anyway, so that is Ocean WP. Let me close those windows. Okay, so Astra was the one that I made a connection to and downloaded one of those themes and installed it last time in the free SiteGround website that they have provided for us to create our second website this semester. So as I said, I'm going to go through the process of making some changes to this theme and customizing it over a few videos so you guys can see that. And of course, you don't have to get this theme, as I said. You can get any theme you want and use these same principles to update and customize your theme. Okay, but before we get into making the changes to this theme and the WordPress website, I'd like to jump over here to our class website and just update you a little bit on what's going on there. So it is Monday the 13th, and your take-home test is due today. So the take-home tests, I finished that study guide in a couple of videos and posted the take-home test. Asked you guys to do it on your own and then put it in your folder. And here's an example of a student that did that. She named it css-test.html, and then when you open that file up, there's all of her examples, including a new example down at the bottom. She used CSS to sell an HTML form, and all the different colors and all the different examples. So that's what I'm looking for from you guys. So please do that, turn it in today, and I will take care of that for you, take care of getting that graded. Now, speaking of grading, I am working on grades for you for both your CSS tests that you turned in today and also the websites that you completed. And I've got a lot on my plate right now with all the videos and everything I'm making for the classes. So I'm working on that. I'll get it done as soon as possible and let you know when your grades are up there. Okay, now as I mentioned in a previous post or two, after you finish your take-home test, the next thing that we're doing, the final project, is to create a new website. SiteGround has been generous enough to offer us free web hosting for 3 months. And if you click here, you can sign up for that. If you watch my last video, I walk you through the process of signing up and starting to create a website by downloading the Astra theme and one of their templates. Okay, so that's kind of a catch up on where we are with the class. Let's jump back over here to the site. And let's talk about what I want to do with the site, what I want to turn it into. And for me, I'm just going to use this as an example of a site I want to create to demo to you guys. So I want to create a website that is talking about this game that I'm working on called Wild Chord. It's a board game. It's sort of a Dungeons and Dragons type of game. And so, this theme works pretty well because there's a nice big picture back here, and it seems to be focused on one thing, which is, in my case, would be the game. So what I would like to do is first show you how to, or one way to go about editing and customizing this background image to be whatever you want. So what I would tend to do in a situation like this is just right click on this and say view background image. And then in my case, I tend to just copy these bad boys and go into something like Photoshop. And let's see, we'll make a new file here. And of course, it's going to create it at the size of what we just copied off the internet, and we can paste it in there. Okay, now the whole reason I did this, there's probably easier ways to do this. I could probably have right-clicked on the picture and found out what size it was and everything, but I just like to do this because it gives me the actual file that I can work with. But I always go in here and look at what the image size is, and like it's a ginormous picture, 30 by 15 at 72. So, you know, that's huge, but what I'm going to do if I'm going to put in a background image on this theme is I'm basically going to put it on this same size image, just put it right on top of this, and then use that as my image. Because it's a size that's already working for the theme. Now, what I wanted to do for my artwork is I wanted to put in a really cool looking sort of cartoony background and then put a character on top of that. So what I did was I went to my favorite vector website, Vecteezy, where you can get free and paid stock art. And I did a search for like cartoon forest backgrounds and stuff, and I found this thing, the Haunted Forest, right? And this has kind of the look and feel that I was looking for. Um, Now the picture in Photoshop is very, it's landscape like most web design stuff. So that means that for this, I'll probably only be able to use the top part of this, which is fine because I can get rid of this little text here and everything. So, I downloaded this and brought it into Photoshop and, and then I could put it on top of this. So like, for example, let me go ahead and download this bad boy right here, open it up. All right, and then here's an EPS, which I can open up in Photoshop. Now let's see. The other one was like 30 inches or whatever. It's 72. So why don't I see what I can do there? If I make this one like 30 inches wide, and then it's going to be really tall, but that's fine because I'm going to cut some of it off. So now it's just going to render this bad boy. Okay, so there it is, right? So now I can select all, copy it, and then I can go, let's see, where's the picture right here? Okay, paste it in here, and there it is. And you see, I almost got it right. It was 30 point something was the size of this picture. So, I could take this and scale it to the size that I want. And I really don't have to worry, oops, I don't have to worry about all that junk at the bottom. There was some, text down there, but since it's landscape view, it just kind of cut that off. So that gives me my picture, right? My background picture. Now I wanted to put a character on top there, and I have this character that I drew. He's this kind of scary looking guy. Here he is. I combined some. I got some reference images of some like a guy standing and sort of a Viking dude, and then some clothes reference from that, from some of those pictures. This was a sword that I found on Vecteezy that I put in there, and then I took a picture of an elephant and chopped his trunk off, so it looked kind of a weirdo face. And then where his ears were, I turned it into like a hair, almost like a lion's mane. So now he just has kind of a freaky, unnatural, weird look to him. But he's kind of a D&D character, so I wanted to take him and put him into, the haunted forest scene. So I'm going to close this original image here. Um, and so, I can take this guy and let's see, now I got to figure out, I got so many windows open because I had the original. All right, what else do I have? I have that, and then I have this. Okay, so then I can paste this guy in here, and of course he's huge, and uh, shrink him down a bunch. All right. Now, of course, you guys can create any kind of background you want. It could be a composite, like I'm doing, which is where you put, more than one thing on it at a time. Okay, so something, I'll just leave that for now. Something like this is what I want to achieve, having the guy standing there in the forest. Um, and of course, I don't know how he's going to get cut off until I start uploading him as a picture, right? So, right now his little foot's getting cut off, so I could put him up there. Anyway, I could save this as a ping file and then upload it as the background image and see where everything hits, right? So if we go back to the website itself, which is here, I'll go back to the front end of the website. Now I'm also have a tab open here where I'm logged into the back end of the website, right? And one of the things I can do is I can go to my pages, and I can very easily find out what the front page is because it will say which one's the front page, and I can click Edit with Elementor. Now you see right away that there's the big picture, and then here's some of the text and everything that was in there. Of course, the menu is going to get dropped in at the top, but anyway, I can click on this picture, and then let's see. Oh yeah. The trick here is, if you want to edit this background section here, you got to right click and click Edit Section. And then, first of all, it's going to show you layout options, which are, for the page itself. But if you go here into Style, this is where it's going to show you what the background image is. Now, as I said, I could take my composite here and I can save this as something, a compressed image format like a PNG or a JPEG, and then I can upload it and see kind of where everything hits, right? Like, my idea with this guy was that I would sort of cut his feet off a little bit. So, like I said, I can go here and I can save him as a PNG and then upload him and see what that looks like. And so the way that I would upload him is by simply clicking on this picture here and then clicking here to upload the file, right? Now, I've already gone through and prepared some files for this, and I actually did a few tests to see where he would look best. What I needed to crop, where I needed to move him and everything. And I ended up with this file right here. So you can see that, it looks kind of weird because he's down here and his feet are kind of cut off. But this is what really worked out best for me. So, and this is called z3test.ping. So if I go back to here, where I'm trying to replace that picture, and I click select files and I go down to my z3test.ping and hit open. Okay, it's just gonna upload that file, and then when it's all ready, I can click insert media, and then there it is. Now, I had to do a fair amount of tweaking with this thing to get it so that he was just kind of centered there, which is really what I wanted to achieve. Now that I'm done with this, I can click update. And if I want to preview it, I can click on this little eyeball here. We'll launch it in a new window. So, now I've got this guy back here in the forest. Of course, his legs are cut off, but that's okay. And he looks pretty cool, right? Now, also, this picture is going to change sort of perspective based on the size of the screen. If it's a bigger screen, you might see a little more of the picture. So, you want to make sure that things look good regardless of what people see. Now, the other thing to notice is that because this is a background, it automatically comes with a filter over it. You can see how dark that is. It's like they put a black um, layer over it with a certain amount of the opacity on. And if we go into Photoshop, you see how bright that is. So, obviously they've got something going on there, some kind of filter. And you can actually, I'm pretty sure you can go in there, I think I've seen it, and edit the opacity of that filter, so that you can make this as dark as you want it to be. Okay. Okay, so what do we want to do next? What type of customization do we want to do to this page? Well, of course, this is all just placeholder text in here, and I want to customize that to my new website that I'm making. So first I'm going to change this text up here, and then I'm going to change the text on the button, and then I'll probably change the color of the button and this line here, this divider line, so it's something that works a little better, maybe that just fits my taste a little better. So once again, this is the preview, and we can go back here to Elementor, and updating this is as easy as highlighting it or changing it over here. Now it says explore the colorful world of blah blah blah, and then learn more. I don't really want to use the learn more text down here. In fact, I think I'd rather have the word explore be down here. Okay. And then, since it's down here, we'll get rid of it up here. And I like the idea of the world, so we'll just call this the fantastic world of. Now, what I'm thinking is I can get rid of this text and put my game logo right here, and that would work really well for that. Now, as far as the button itself here, if I click on the Explore button now and click on Style, we're going to have, let's see, background color. Let's see if this is where we can make this change. Let's see what happens if we make a change in here. Yeah. So this is where you can make the background color. Now I want something that's a little more sort of orangey. So let me explore colors for my Explore button, right? So something around like that might look kind of good. But now that I think about it, I actually did come up with a color that I liked, and I actually wrote down the hexadecimal code for that color and copied it, put it in my paste buffer. So now that I remembered that, if you have a specific color, you can go into Photoshop and mix it or sample it, and then just paste it in right here. So this is the color chooser. You can choose a color, you can mix a color, or you can just kind of go in here and paste in the color that you want to use. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and paste in that color right there, and then hit that. And so that's the color I want to use for this. And of course, I want this little divider to kind of match up to it, right? So we click on the divider, we go to Style, we go to Color. Once again, we get the same little choice here. And so we can put in the new color. Now that color matches this one. Now remember, when you're using hexadecimal codes, uh, leave the hashtag in there. That's a key that the computer knows that this is going to be a hexadecimal code. So you just want to put in the 6 letters and numbers that follow the hashtag to create your color. Okay, so now we have the fantastic world of a wonderful gift explorer, right? So we got to get rid of this wonderful gift, so I can, highlight all that and get rid of it, right? So this is a type section, but what I really want to do is put in a graphic here. So if we head back over to Photoshop, we can look at the graphic that I want to put in. So down here in Photoshop, we go over here, and this is going to be kind of hard for you to see unless I change the background color. So here is the logo for this game, Wild Chord. And what I've got is I've got white text on top of a transparent background. And so I can save this on my desktop. I'll just call it XXX, so it's easy for me to find. Good old triple X. Ping. Oh, Pixar format. Okay. Let's just call it x.ping. That ought to be pretty easy to find. Save. And okay. All right. So now we can drop a graphic in here. Now it's looking for text, but we can probably either drop a graphic in here or just create a new section in here and drop a graphic in. So, you know, each one of these sections is editable, and well, it says meet right click. So you can right click here and it says edit heading, or you can duplicate this section. But let's click edit heading and see what they're going to let us do. So it looks like they'll let us put in the actual heading itself. Under style, they'll give us different options for the text, and then different options for adding more. Now they have an option here for background, and it looks like, let's see, background choice, classic, gradient. These are all color options, right? So it's not really what I want. I don't really want text in here. I want to drop an image in here. So, you know, what I'm doing right now is I'm searching to see if there's any way that I can get an image in what was formerly a text box. Now, what I may have to do is go back here to my icons and then grab the image and see what happens if I just want to drop it in here, right? And it looks like, sure enough, it is going to let me drop an image section in there. It looks like it kept that other section, which I can always delete, and then now it's dropped in an image section as well. So for the image section, I can click on that, click on my image, and go upload my media file, which is my water cooler wild cord logo. Let's see. So wxx.ping open. Okay, and then we'll just hit insert media and see what it looks like. Okay, so there it is. It looks pretty good. And I can go into style here. And what's nice about this is you have these sliders which allow you to just move them to change, you know, the width of things or the maximum width. But also there's this nice slider here which is opacity. And so just by sliding this, I can change, you know, how visible that is. And I kind of like the idea of it being semi-visible. So I'm going to go ahead and make that change with my opacity slider. Now, as I said, this little section is still here, but I really don't want it in there anymore. So I can right click on it and I can hit delete, and now it's gone, right? So now you can choose to update every time you make a change, or you can hit the preview button first, this little eyeball here. It'll update your little preview section, and then you can see how that looks before you make your change. And to me, that looks pretty good. So, you know, I got no problems with that. So I can go ahead and hit update, and that's going to commit the change. Of course, you do want to do that on a regular basis. Save your files so that you don't lose anything. Now, the other thing that I have to deal with here is, you know, up here, I need a little version of my logo. And then, of course, I need to update these menu items here. And, of course, this giant pink pill here is not really something that I want on this page. So let's see what our options are in regards to that. Well, first of all, I have another small wildcord logo that I can upload there. So why don't I start with that to get rid of that? Okay, so I do have another copy of the logo here, and I can give it the transparent background, save that. We'll call this XX and make it a ping file. Save it on the desktop, save. Of course, naming it logo or mini logo or whatever is perfectly acceptable. Okay, so now I want to edit that kind of logos section. And so, that's not available right here. So I'm going to have to explore where it is that I can see that. So I'm going to exit to the dashboard. Block editor, I hate you. What is the block editor? Oh my gosh. I can't believe I have the block editor on this site. That's WordPress's latest way of editing sites, and I'm really not a big fan of it. Let's see. So I tried to exit the dashboard, and I ended up with this crazy thing. Okay, there we go. So first of all, I want to get rid of that block editor. I personally kind of hate that. So I'm going to go to my plugins and go to install plugins. And notice that I don't have something here called Classic. And Classic will revert WordPress to an earlier format that doesn't use the block plugins. So I'm just going to type in WordPress Classic Editor. What? No plugins found. Oh, okay. I guess I got to do add new. Classic Editor. Here it is, right? So we can click install now. It installs it, and then we can activate it. And then it will default to the interface that I'm used to instead of that blocks editor, which I'm not crazy about. Okay, so now let's see. All right, we wanted to customize the logos. So if we go under appearance and then we go to customize, we can go to, let's see, header. Well, let's see. You kind of have to guess in this. Is it going to be on the home page or in the header? I don't really know. I'm just going to assume the header here. Site identity, that's definitely where it would be, right? So you can see it says outdoor adventure logo, and so we can say, change logo, and then I can upload my files. In this case, it's going to be that double X thing, which is here. Okay, and then we're going to select that. Now, because it's white on white, we can't really see it. I'm going to say skip cropping. And then this is weird. I've noticed that it does this weird thing where it puts it in twice. And the reason is because there's a couple of different logos here. There's like the regular logo and then the Retina logo. And I don't know, see it says different logo for Retina devices. Let me see if I uncheck that, if anything changes. Well, okay, yeah, now it's just showing the logo that was the Retina logo, right? So clearly, if I change this logo to, my wild cord, whoa, hello, let's see, let's uncheck that. I don't know what the hell is going on with this thing. Okay, so we changed that one, and now I messed with this a little earlier, and it was just kind of a pain. I don't remember exactly what I did to fix this, except play around with it a little bit until I got the output that I wanted. So let me pause the video for a second so I can remember what I did. Okay, I just remembered what I did. Now this is, as wonderful as WordPress is, as wonderful as Elementor is, and this Astra theme, there's still things that are just weird that, nobody can explain to you. You just kind of have to figure out by exploration, right? And so, you know, after putting two logos in here and still having that thing be wrong, it occurred to me that there's a little pencil icon up here, which means you can change things. Now watch what happens. When I click on that, it brings me two more logos, right, that are there. And I'm like, oh my God, who thought this crazy thing up? So there's, oh, finally it's showing that, right? Now I can also, just for the sake of argument, I can change this one. Because the idea is all this stuff is going to show up at different times, right? If you have Retina devices or whatever. Anyway, I'm going to hit publish on this because when something finally works after it hasn't been working for a while, you get paranoid and you're just like, publish it, write it down so that it doesn't get lost, right? Anyway, a nice thing, these sliders are wonderful. I love these. You can take these and make your logo as big or as small as you want, you know. So we'll make that a reasonable size. And now we're ready to work on the menu bar up here. Now also notice when I clicked on this thing, it took me to a different section here. And if I want to go back to the original logos that I saw, I click this, and now it takes me back to this area, right? So, okay, now with the menus, let's see. It's got this thing called primary menu, and I can click on that. That's this menu up here, and it says last item in menu button, right? And I just really don't want that. So, what are my choices? Well, I can say none. I can say a search box. I can say text.html. Let's see what some of these different options give us. We know we don't want the button, right? So let's hit a search box. Okay, I like that. I like the search button there. So I think I'm gonna stick with that. But if you didn't want to, you could also click hide last item in menu on mobile. Take last item outside menu. You have all these different options. If you wanted to keep the button, you could change the what it says, and also somewhere in here you'll find the coloring and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I do like. Oh, let's see what else is here. So text HTML, and then this is going to allow you to change the text that's on there, and then widget. You could add a widget in here. So there's widgets, here in Elementor. So you could add something like social media icons widget. Okay, but let's go for the search because that's what we think is cool. All right, and once again, I can hit publish. Now, the last thing I want to change just about this top section of the front page here are the menu items themselves. Now, you wouldn't change that here. This is going to let you change, which menu is showing up. You would change that by changing the names of the sections because this is a template. They just put in some generic sections there, and you would actually go back to the WordPress dashboard, change the names of these sections, and of course, eventually put in new content. But then once you change the names, the new names are going to be what show up here. So, to get back to the main WordPress site, I can click this little X here, and that takes me back into WordPress. To get to the menus, I can go under Appearance Menus, right? And I can see that my main one has Home, About, Services, Projects, Contact, right? So let's say we want to change that to just a few links, and then maybe consider updating the contact section. Okay, so Home, About, Services, Projects, Content. So that's probably all the pages that are over here. Yeah, I mean, with the exception of sample page and privacy policy, it's all the pages that are in here. So let me go ahead and rename these what I want them to be. Now, of these pages, I know that I don't want the services page here, so I'm just going to hit trash, and that takes care of that. Now, things like the sample page, I don't really need this sample page, but I can leave it there for now in case, I need an example page to look at. Projects, contact, and about, I want to keep. Privacy policy, I can keep, but it's not being displayed at the top, so I don't have to worry about that. And of course, there's the home page. Now, if I want to see the order in which these are displayed, I can go down here to Appearance Menus and see it says Services is invalid, so you have to open this up and hit Remove to get rid of it. Now, of these, I think I like the idea of projects being first, so I'm going to grab that and drag it up to the top. That's the error message about the invalid menu items, and then I'm going to just hit Save Menu. Now, by the way, if you check this box, anytime you make a new page, it's going to be added to your menu. Okay, so we've got Home, Projects, About, and Contact. If I were to preview this, this is what it would look like: Home, About, Home, Projects, About, Contact, right? And then if the other thing I wanted to do is maybe just go check out the existing contact page that they have for me. And I was going to suggest putting in contact form 7, but it looks like they've already got a working contact form in here, so you probably just have to uh, update your contact information here. Obviously update your links if you want those to go to social media, and then maybe even do something like change the color of this button, right? So if I click Edit with Elementor, I can go down here to where the button is, click on that, and then let's see, WP Forms, Advanced. Wow, okay, so it might be kind of, it looks like it's actually going to be in the code for this form, which is kind of tricky. It's probably not, well, actually, maybe we could do it in the custom CSS for this form itself. Change the color of that button, right? So it says WP Forms ID equals 5. So there's a couple options we have here. So let me see if I can go to WP Forms and the plugin and see if I can access that, because then I can change the color of this in the code. So I'll go back. Let's see, back to dashboard. Exit to dashboard. Okay, so here's WP Forms and all forms. And here's the contact form. All right. Wow. This does not look like what we're seeing. So that's a little confusing. So let's see. And it just has the one form, huh? Edit entries, Alex, blah, blah, blah. I wonder if it's called, yeah, this is it. WP Forms ID equals 5. So that is the form. But Elementor is editing it. It's taken this button here, and it has given it a special, uh, look and feel. Now, right down here, it says submit button CSS class. Well, maybe I could add a class to this, which is a style, of course, and then go into my custom CSS and add that class in there to change the color. So let's try this out. So it says submit button CSS class. So we can click on this little question mark here, and it'll say, what will it say? It said something for a second. Oh, enter CSS class name for the form submit button. Multiple names should be separated with spaces. Okay, well, let's just call this, let's say the class is going to be my button. Okay, and then we can hit save. All right, so now we can go back. We can go into appearance and customize. We can go to additional CSS, and we can say that there's a class, which means a dot, called my button. And then we put in our curly braces and we hit our enter button, and it puts us down here. And we can say background color, and then we can put in the number, let's see, that I have in Photoshop for, let's see, that button. Now I took a screenshot. Here it is. So I'm going to click that, and then there's my color right there. So let's see, background color, we could say £, and then put in that number, and of course put in the semicolon. So in theory, we've created a class called my button. We've given it a background color of this, and then we can hit publish. Now it may not work right away because obviously this coding is kind of complicated. We may have to explore a little bit different ways to get this to work. But now theoretically, if we go to the contact page, that submit button would be the same color as this button here. So what I can do is, leave this open so I can get back here easily. Go here, I can refresh this, which will get rid of that big button because I got rid of that already. And then I can hit the contact page, and there you go. It actually worked, right? Oh, but check this out. It worked for the regular background of button, but look, there's the hover, which changes it to that pinky color, right? And that's a different CSS. Now, I could leave it alone because I personally don't really mind, but it would be useful to know how to change that. So let's go back in here, and we can say, we can put a new style in here. So we can copy this and we can paste it in underneath, right? And then what we need to do is we need to change this color here so it's a different color. And we need to use what's called the hover style. And the hover style is what happens when you hover your mouse over this. Now, one way to figure out, exactly the code for this hover style is to go back to the page itself and to access what are called the web developer tools. And I'm here in Firefox. I can click here and go to web developer and then toggle tool. Oops, I hit the wrong one. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. Toggle tools was what I meant to hit. I hit inspector, it gave me the same thing. But anyway, you scroll down here, and then what you can do, click on this little guy right here in the corner, um, like that to get the rollover stuff, and then click on the button itself, right? And so it's showing you, what the background color is for this and what the border color is for this button. And of course, I've changed that by putting in the custom CSS. It's no longer that bright red. But you can also see that there is a thing here called button colon hover, right? And so that is what happens when somebody hovers over that button, what color it's going to go to. So basically, these are all the choices that have been made in that regard. So what we can do is try some of that code in our customized area and see if we can get that hover to change. Okay, so we'll go back here and try something like that. Okay, so what we can do, since we don't have a lot of buttons on this site, we could just change all the buttons to be the same. So we can use that text, that CSS style that we saw when we looked at the page, using the web tools, and it was called button colon hover. And to test it out, we can just go ahead and say, okay, when you're hovering over that, I want you to be a different color. So we'll just put it in green here, right? So we got the my button color, which is turning the button that orangey rust color. And then we're saying, hey, whenever you're rolling over a button, when the hover style is activated, go ahead and make it green. So we hit publish, and then we go back to the page and refresh it. And now the button's kind of that rust color, but when we roll over it, oh, it turns red. So that's always super nice. So let's see what we did wrong. I think I put an extra space in here. Button, hover, background color green. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. So once again, as I've said in the past, the coding is very unforgiving. If you put in extra spaces or extra things that you don't want, they're gonna come back to bite you. Now, I'm not crazy about this green color. Maybe I can get something that's a little different shade of that red, so I can go back to Photoshop. I've still got that color selected, so maybe I could get a brighter version of this color. So maybe if I just kind of head up this way a little bit, um, and then choose this, which is the hexadecimal equivalent of the color, and then put that into my code here. So now, of course, I'm going to use the hex code. So I'll put in the hex, because for some reason in Photoshop, it just gives you the text or the numbers and letters and not the hex hash mark. So you have to put that in. So I'll hit publish. Now this will be way more subtle, and it might be too subtle, which means I'd have to make it even brighter still. But let's see. So see how it's like lighting up a little bit. So, that works for me. It doesn't have to be like, it doesn't have to be night and day. It doesn't have to change like a million degrees of color. Just, so long as it indicates that there's a little change happening there, that's good for me. Okay, so we've achieved our goal of, let me close this little thing here, uh, or the goal that I set for myself, which is to, customize this background image, customize this text, put in a new logo here, a logo there, change the names in the order of these, maybe put the search box or search icon there. And of course, then on the contact form, we just went in and we're able to manipulate this thing a little bit. Now, of course, you would go in and update all the other things on this page as well. Okay, so that's going to be it for today. Just talking about some little customizations that you can do. Hopefully you learned a few things, a few tricks you can use on your own. Um, and if nothing else, just remember to explore and see what your options are. And of course, there's a lot of good helper files out there, especially with things like the Astra templates. There's a good knowledge base and FAQs and things, and you need to investigate those. Just as a reminder, if we go back here into the dashboard and we go down to Appearance and Astra Options, this is right here where you can get a lot of your answers to your questions. And so this is what I really like about this theme is they make it really easy to use and then to expand your knowledge. And of course, you can search on the internet, but this is a rich area for knowledge about this this theme. Okay, so please work on your themes and your ideas for your second website. If you have questions or you want to bounce a theme or an idea for a website off me, just shoot me an email or even put a question in the website forum, and I'll get back to you with answers. And like I said, I'll work on those on the grading for the tests and the first website and get those to you as soon as possible. Okay, so have a good couple of days, and I will talk to you again in the next video on Wednesday.